Today we want to talk to you about one of the most popular Ibanez acoustic guitars that we carry. A lot of you love it. It's the AC340OPN. We're going to go through the specs with you and tell you why it's such a popular guitar. So stay tuned. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee.
And I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like our videos. If you'd like to support the channel, visit our spring store link below for our custom designed t-shirts. So this is the Artwood AC340OPN from Ibanez. It's a popular guitar.
Yeah, it's very popular. OPN, open, pore.
Open, pore, natural finish.
Yeah.
So do you think it stands for open, pore, natural, or that they just didn't want to add the E because it'd be extra money?
I think probably a little bit of both.
And it doesn't have E. There's no electronics on it, so there you go.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, open pore, referring to the finish, it's a really nice, it's interesting, we just played AD22E.
From Taylor, yeah.
Nice satin finish, but very thin finish. I think that's kind of what they went for here as well. A lot of breathing room with the finish. It's nice, but
the guitar gets to breathe.
Yeah, it gets to breathe finally after being thermo-aged.
After being thermal-aged. So we're going to run through some of these specs, tell you what it is and what it isn't, what it really means, and why this guitar is so popular. So first of all, it's part of the Artwood series from Ibanez in their acoustic line, and it is an open pore finish, solid top, layered or laminate back and sides acoustic guitar. No electronics on this, but there is a version where you can get that. There's a number of models within this kind of lineup that have the OPN designation, part of the Artwood lineup. There's dreadnoughts and stuff, but this happens to be the most popular that we have carried, and I think the reason why is the body shape. It's kind of a triple OM sized body, although it looks a little deeper than an actual triple O does. And what it does is it gives you kind of the best of both worlds. It's a small body guitar. It looks really nice with the lines, but it's not too big, and so a lot of people can benefit. And I think, most people who are starting guitar, I think, make the mistake sometimes of going to a big old dreadnought. A lot of packs have dreadnoughts. A lot of inexpensive guitars that we review and like are dreadnoughts. But for a lot of people, whether they're starting out or even if they've been playing for years, a smaller guitar is probably better. Yeah. Because they're smaller in stature, the scale lengths and just all of the size can be beneficial in kind of becoming one with your guitar. So I have a suspicion that that's why this particular body shape is so popular. But we'll talk about some of the other specs. So the top, back, and sides are all made of the same tone wood. Want to wager a guess?
I have a name in mind. I don't want to say. Yeah, what is it?
It's okume.
Okay, that's not what I was going to say.
What were you going to say?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So it's okume. It's an African wood. So a lot of woods are coming out of Africa and being utilized. We have African mahogany, sapele, what ovancol. I mean, all of these woods that are indigenous. Acacia, which is a species that is similar to, or koa is an acacia species. And so they're finding their way into guitar manufacturing, and it's great. As long as you can get it without damaging the environment. It makes for a good tone wood. I'm all for it. It has the appearance very similar of like mahogany and sapele.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty dense hardwood, so when using it for the top in this particular case, since the top is the only part that's solid, that's where you're getting the response from. And it tends to lend itself to this really kind of warm sound that comes from it.
Yeah. And so it says thermo-aged right here, and that's confusing when you don't really know deep into guitar manufacturing stuff. There's terms like torrefied and VTS and all that.
Beginner guitarists would probably say, my guitar is thermal-aged. I leave it in my trunk all of the time.
Exactly, yeah. So you did a little research on that?
Well, yeah, so typically thermal aging is what we would also refer to as torrefaction. And torrefaction means that you've taken a piece of wood and you've treated it with heat and with pressure in specific circumstances. So most manufacturers who do this, they have a kiln, they pull out the oxygen, and everyone kind of does it their own way, but they utilize this treatment to basically age the wood artificially. So we figured out that over time, wood tends to, we call it open up, but in reality, it's actually kind of close up, because what's happening is that there's like pores or valves in the wood that close. Volatiles, like sugars and moisture and stuff, evaporate from the wood becomes more stable and lighter, and that's why over time guitars tend to sound better and better. And so Ibanez will tell you that over time this guitar top is going to sound better and better because it's a solid piece of wood. It's still maturing, it's coming into its own, and over time it's going to do that. So that leaves the question then, what was thermally aged, if that's what they're saying about it? What I've learned is that they are not torrefying the top. What they are torrefying is interesting, and it kind of makes sense. They're torrefying the bridge and the bridge plate. Now the reason for this is because this is the anchor for the strings. It's also the point where all of the vibrations of the strings meet the top and resonate outward. And so by having the bridge and the bridge plate, which is the piece of wood underneath that connects to the top and the bracing, you're having a piece of wood that's lighter, stronger, more stable, and will respond with more resonance to the vibration of the strings.
I think it's interesting because oftentimes the top will be torrefied or treated in some way, whether it's VTS or, but that will not be done on the bridge or bridge plate. I think it's probably getting different results, but it's interesting that they chose to do it on there.
I think the idea here is that you're getting different results for different reasons. So, to your point, some manufacturers will torrefy the top, but not the bracing. Martin will torrefy all of it, or none of it, or some of it, and it's to accomplish different things. There's also price that's involved. This guitar currently sells for $299.99. So the fact that it doesn't have a torrefied top is not surprising to me. What's interesting is that Ibanez has figured out a way to bring that technology in that has benefit to the guitar, yields kind of a drier and more vintage response to the tone, but do it at $299.99.
Yeah, and speaking of the vintage tone and everything, Ibanez does a really good job in acoustics and electrics for giving options for the ultra modern and the ultra vintage. This is obviously more vintage style. And then even with the electrics like the Art Core stuff, more 335 style, it's really cool. And then of course you get the Geos and all the, prestige crazy metal stuff. But they have other acoustics that are also popular.
That are very
modern. Very different, very modern. But it's nice that they kind of invest time into curating something for both sides. I think it's cool. I lean more towards the vintage style, so I would probably get this over the flame top blue acoustic with the cutaway that we got over there. But those are cool too, and we've featured those on the channel before because they're very popular as well.
Well, and I know that you lean more to the vintage side, so I asked Cooper to demonstrate this guitar for us today because I played it and I was like, who this reminds me of? Cooper. So, or your tone anyway. So Cooper's gonna put through its paces. You can hear for yourself what it sounds like, so check it out. So there you have it. Cooper's beautiful rendition of why you should buy this Ibanez on acoustic guitar. Find it on Spotify. That's not the name of it. So nice and warm tone.
Yeah, for sure.
It definitely sounds like there's something going on with the torrefaction here to go along with like the scallop bracing and everything that's going on with this guitar.
Yeah.
It's got nice warmth to it.
It's got nice warmth, and we've talked about certain features that you want for a step-up guitar. This is interesting because it's right in between the entry-level price and the step-up price, but it's got the compelling, the bracing, the torrefied, thermo-aged bridge and bridge plate.
Bow nut and saddle.
That's nice.
Yeah.
See, that's another thing in there. I mean, it's...
There's some nice upgrades.
Yeah, certain types of guitars will inform the way that you want to play on them. This definitely wants that very vintage kind of singer-songwriter thing. I think it's great for if you're starting guitar, you really like, James Taylor, Jim Croce type stuff. I think this is a nice way to achieve that tone in just a natural, nice way.
So let's talk about what it is lacking. So it doesn't have a pickup.
Yeah, it doesn't have an ES2.
You don't get a case. You don't get a gig bag. It's weird. I'm just soapbox moment. I think every guitar should come with a case or gig bag.
Yeah.
Every single guitar. And like nobody ever buys a trumpet without a case or a saxophone without a case.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's just my opinion on things manufacturers. But there's a few things where I'm going to tell you my honest opinion on this guitar. I like the open pore finish, and I like the sound that you get out of this guitar. I think Okume is a wonderful tone to use for the top, and what they're doing with torrefaction is great. And what we just said is absolutely true. You are getting a very affordable guitar with some upgrades you typically don't find at this price point, like the torrefaction, the bracing, and the fact that it's got bow nut and saddle. There are other things, though, that are obvious at this price point because it's $299.99, it's a $300 guitar, and just going to be honest so that you know going in what you're getting, because this is pretty common at this price point. So the action's a bit high.
Yeah.
You've noticed that a few times.
Yes.
Could it benefit from a setup? It can benefit from a setup. It's got a lot of relief in the neck. Now what that tells me is that the neck angle is actually good. It just needs a setup, a pretty basic setup. And we didn't do that. We took this out of the box, much like you would probably receive it, and we played it. So setup from the factory, not 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's playable.
Yep.
It's not the worst I've ever seen, but that's what you get for $300. The only other thing that's really bothering me on this guitar is one of the first things I noticed is this bone nut is sharp right here. And I noticed it because I was playing a chord and my index finger was hitting it.
Yeah.
And so there's little things like that when you're shopping in this price point that you're probably going to notice, and you can let me know what your opinion is. I think it's pretty typical across the board for the most part.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's also important, like what you're talking about, setup, that can be fixed. The nut, you could...
Yeah, that can be fixed.
You could fix that. Little things that might be making you uncomfortable, that if you're a beginner, you don't know exactly what to look for, you're just knowing that it's not super comfortable. There's some things that are always going to be like that when you're starting off, fingertips hurting and, all building calluses and stuff. But for things that might be digging into your skin or that you have to push very hard, learn and kind of understand the things that you can change, because it doesn't have to always be that way. This is a nice guitar. You can make little changes for pretty inexpensive and be a lot more comfortable playing it. It's not going to turn you off from, practicing and all that, because like you said with dreadnoughts, I'm sure a ton of beginners start with a dreadnought pack. The guitar feels a little big for them and it's uncomfortable to play, so they're less motivated. So this fixes that with the body shape, and then other little things you can fix pretty easily.
Yeah, and I say that to point out the truth of how this guitar is currently sitting in my hands, but I would not have any hesitation to own this guitar, fix those things, and enjoy it, particularly as in relation to other guitars I own, as kind of a less precious beat around kind of guitar.
Yeah.
Because it has a really nice sound to it. So if you're looking for a new beginner guitar in this price range around $300, you're looking for a unique sound, because let's face it, I think most guitars in this price range are going to be gloss finish, spruce top, maybe mahogany, but they're not going to have this kind of vintage tone to it, then this is a very, very compelling option. It has a few things that are just gimmies at this price point, but I think it's a great guitar.
Yep.
So That's our opinion. If you want more information about it, go to our website. It's alamomusic.com. If you're interested in buying a guitar, by the way, and you need a setup done on it, we take care of that too. That's why we have sales staff and service, so we can make sure that everything's set up to your liking before it leaves. We educate you on what it needs, and someone like Cooper can go, yeah, that looks good, or yeah, that could definitely use an adjustment. So just chat with someone live on our website. We'll help you sort through all of the various options that are available and find the right guitar for you. Because you know what I always say.
What do you always say?
I always say that the best guitar in the world is the one that you're playing. For real, for real, for real. There's a bunch of options out there. It really just comes down to making music.
Yep.
And so we want to help you do that. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos, keep coming back for more, and we'll see you next time.